Welcome to Born on the Bayou Sports, a Houston sports show made for Houstonians by Houstonians. Join Tim Costello and Scott Barzilla every week as they break down the latest in Houston Astros, Rockets, and Texans news. Tim's a former minor league broadcaster, and Scott has written 2 books on the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yeah, if Javier could get it figured out, it would make things a lot easier because he was that guy everybody was counting on this year to be a Cy Young candidate, take that big step forward and help anchor this rotation with Fromber.
Since he's come to Houston, you can look at the development of guys like Carlos Correa defensively, Jeremy Pena defensively. I mean, you can Alex Bregman's, certainly I think a better than average third baseman.
And now you're putting teams in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9. Now here comes Will Anderson. Pin back your ears, let's go. So if you're Bayou born and bred, or just like spending time in the H, sit down, relax, and stay Houston strong. Welcome all my friends to the podcast that has been barely holding on to the edge of our seats watching this Rockets game, Scott.
I know, no kidding. It looks like they're in good shape. I've kind of got one eye on that one there, Tim. I was going to say we'll probably get to this later on in the show, but we got some late breaking news before the podcast started. The Astros have dealt Mauricio Dubón for Nick Allen and his 53 career OPS plus. So my opening question to you, Tim, is just trades here, Tim, not free agent defections. What was the biggest gut punch of a trade that you can recall in your fandom of Houston sports?
Okay. I think Lance to the Yankees kind of sucked a lot. Especially I haven't seen him go on to win a World Series, multiple teams, not just one with the Cardinals. I'm sorry. Let's see. Trade Royo sucked. Bud Norris kind of sucked a lot too, even though I knew it was time. I don't know. I don't know. You probably had more gut wrenching ones with the time period of the Astros that you were in. I don't really. I mean, is there anyone during the last 20 years that you feel was gut-wrenching that we got rid of?
Not in the last 20, because I felt like those deals were coming. And, they got pretty good value for Lance. They got, as I like to call him, Mark Melancon. I think his name is pronounced Melanson.
He's a good player on Immaculate Grid, played for a lot of teams.
Yeah. And then, of course, Janet, every time she sees that, she goes nuts because it's actually a Cajun. It's a French name. And so she pronounces it the French way. But I think if you're looking at Astros history, I think for me, and especially looking back, Caminetti being dealt was pretty much of a gut. That happened when I was in college. That was a pretty big gut punch.
So, if I'm looking outside the Astros, though, I think the one that truly was the biggest gut punch for me as a Houston fan is probably Hopkins.
Okay, yeah, that's up there pretty big.
There was absolutely zero reason to make that move, and I still remember when it happened. It first leaked that the Texans had traded for David Johnson.
Yes,
that's what and I was like, okay, I could see this maybe working, good pass catching back. Okay. I'd be interested in what we gave up to get him. And then the rest of the deal comes out. It was Hopkins. And you're just like, what the fucking fuck? Right? That was when the Bill O'Brien sheen maybe came off a little bit for the first time.
A little. That he was stripped bare, Tim.
Yeah, that was when we realized this man is not a GM, and every GM in the league is like, what I should call for a trade is that Bill O'Brien fella. He's a real wheeler and dealer.
That William O'Brien, he's
That's right.
Well,
Bill's the coach.
well, my favorite, my thing about that trade is like if you sat there and said DeAndre Hopkins for a second round pick, I'd be like, that's bad. But DeAndre Hopkins for a second round pick and a broken down running back, and they don't give you any money? Like what the fuck? You should give us a first round pick for taking David Johnson off your hands and the
Right.
contract.
Right. And then like to start talking the shit that he started talking about Hopkins, right? Like, oh, why he did it, wasn't a team guy. It's gonna make Deshaun Watson better. It was that one was gut wrenching. It came I think then like the next day or maybe 2 days later, like all the Mike Fire stuff came out too. And it was just like it was just like this week of like Houston just taking it in the fucking chin, man.
That was a rough week. That was a rough
That
week.
was. Speaking of rough weeks, maybe not rough, but definitely a short week. The Houston Texans, coming off of a rough win for sure, find themselves in a Thursday night game. And as you reminded me before the broadcast tonight, with Davis Mills again under center. Scott, Thursday was fucking ugly. Okay. I watched it on Red Zone and then went back and watched the condensed game. And like I get it was a pretty conservatively called game. You were playing the Titans, yada yada yada. That was a fucking snooze fest until like the very end when you actually had to go make some plays to win.
And I was probably like you, Tim. Well, I was watching live. So when we got 4th and goal from the 2, I was screaming at the television, kick it, you motherfuckers, kick it. To me, I think that, and I'm not, I don't have sports hate for Nick Caley anymore. I think it's more sports pity. I think asking him to dial up a 4th and goal play should be considered torture according to the Geneva Convention. I mean, that's like waterboarding a guy. Can you tell a discernible difference at this point?
We're talking about the sack after the play action, right? Like,
well, yeah, because to me, if you're Davis Mills and you hit a popcorn vendor, you're still better off because they have first down from their own 2 rather than first from the 15.
Yeah, and I don't hate the idea of a play action, but give me a boot. Give me something that's got my guy moving towards the line of scrimmage, toward the goal line. Give him a chance to, tuck it and go if that's not there. But yeah, the blind release to like the fucking blind sign there was just a wonderful Nick Caley play call. But at the end of the day, even after you hold the Titans offensively to just absolutely nothing, then the rookie Cam Ward makes, quite frankly, an unbelievable throw. Next thing you know, game's tied, and you've got no time left in this game. Minute and a half, I think it was, maybe.
Yeah.
And still, somehow the Texans found a way to walk out of Nashville with what would have been probably a season-ending loss. I think if you lose that game there with the stretch that you have coming, you kiss your season goodbye. But where the Texans are right now, you and I talked, is there a path to 10 wins? We talked about that before the Niners game. And I feel like this thing is basically, at least what games you win and what ones you lose, has gone to plan for the most part of where the wins and losses were going to come from. So they've played themselves back into contention. Davis Mills has done the job of a backup, but let's also like pump the brakes. Because you know what I'm tired of seeing on Facebook is, we don't need to extend TJ Stroud. We've got Davis Mills. Okay, stop. Like, full stop. We have won games, but quite frankly, as long as you don't turn the football over and can play apparently just 5 minutes of good quarterback play towards the end of the game, the Texans will find a way to win. That's pretty much been the formula. They've looked like for most of the games this season, Scott, the Texans have looked like shit offensively for a majority of the game, hung around, had a drive going at the end of the game, the first 3, and turned it over. But now, here in the end of this, towards the middle of the season, the drives at the end of the game are coming up big.
Yeah, here's where I'm at, though. So they are where they are. We finally have that Thursday night game that you've been teasing now for 3 weeks.
I've really been teasing that one, haven't
I? So if we break this into pieces, you go Bills, Colts, Chiefs, with 2 of them being on the road, with the Colts and the Chiefs being on the road. Can you go 2-1?
I think yes.
So who are those 2 you think that you're going to beat?
I think you can clip the Chiefs right now.
I think, yeah, I could see that.
And
although at Kansas City is going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. We don't traditionally play well there, but this is not the same Chiefs offense of old, right? Like, I think they're not putting up points at the same pace that they have in previous seasons. They're 5-5, just like we are. I see that being a very competitive game. Last year we lost by a single score, and that's after the Tank Dell injury and all that, right? Like, it was a heartbreaking injury. You literally had a chance to tie that game up. He blows everything out. You missed the extra point. Everything went downhill from there. I don't see it happening that way this year. This is a different team. You've got Petrie back, hopefully at that point, to take care of Travis Kelce. You got 2 really good cover corners. I just like our chances in that game a lot more than we've ever been in the past. I think the Thursday night games, those are always a toss-up, Scott, because you're on a short week, because you can't do as much implementation during the week because you're playing on Thursday. Those are kind of anybody's game, right? Like, whoever had the better short week typically tends to win. I don't think there's a non-chance that the defense balls tomorrow and Josh Allen throws 2 picks and fumbles and the defense carries the Texans to a win. Like, I can definitely see that happening.
Yeah, and I think the unfortunate thing with you, because you mentioned off air, Stroud did practice on Tuesday, but unfortunately, with the way the protocol works, I think you have to have 2 padded practices with contact in order to be cleared of the protocol, which I think they do sometimes give you some allowances for a short week. But do you want Stroud playing in this game ice cold after being out for 2.5 weeks?
I don't necessarily think so. I probably would rather let him rest, because then you get 10 days in between games at that point. So let him rest, come back after the Thanksgiving holiday ready to finish the season strong. Like, this is why you extended Davis Mills. I think he's a very good backup quarterback. I think, he's got maybe 1 or 2 picks in the time he's been starting. Or
only 1 pick.
1 pick, and that's across 3 games, 2 starts.
4 touchdown passes. So yeah.
So,
and when you look at the Bills, 31st in the league in rush defense. Tampa Bay's 3rd string running back gains over 100 yards this last week. So, do you think Woody Marks could go nuts? And if Woody Marks goes nuts, you don't need as much out of Davis Mills.
I almost wish we had like a young, athletic, running quarterback at this point, right? Like someone like a Justin Fields, but not as expensive, that you could bring in for certain packages against teams like this. Hey, they struggle with the run. Like, let's bring in the option play a bit more. Like, we got this kid on the practice squad. Our main quarterback is out. We're gonna run some read option on this drive, and then bring Davis back into the game. All right. Like, I get maybe he won't love it from his rhythm perspective, and I get maybe people aren't in favor of that, but in today's NFL, where you can put a hat on a hat and go, and you get that extra blocker, it'd be nice to have just like a guy who's not expensive, not your franchise quarterback, not necessarily a backup. Maybe your third string is more of a threat to just run the ball offensively in situations like this.
You mentioned Fields. He's not doing much on Sunday. I think
Yeah, but he's got a fat contract. His
yeah,
owner was talking mad shit about him.
yeah, and he's been benched. So maybe they'll do like a Lynn Lease kind of program with them. We'll lend
I
it
wish
to
you could
your
just
guy.
do it like in the Premier League or like soccer does. Just be like, hey, let me borrow this guy. Let me loan him out to me. Let me finish the season strong. You can have him back for next year. But no, I just think it would be nice to have, and instead of Mertz or
Yeah,
some random guy from the University of Florida who, like, hey, he may be a good backup quarterback somewhere down the road, but you also just signed your backup to an extension. So give me a viable option as the third string guy who could come in and just run the fucking ball a little bit. In a game where you can't afford to turn it over in this game, I think you and I would both agree, especially on these short weeks. Turnovers will kill you. Whoever plays the cleanest on Thursday night typically is the one that comes away. Like you're just not enough time to put in that much that's new in between a Sunday game and a Thursday game. Like as you said, there's really one padded practice. There was no padded practice on Monday. You have a padded practice Tuesday. You have a walkthrough Wednesday, and then you're playing Thursday.
yeah. This is one where I think in this next draft, I've mentioned this, but I'm almost thinking running back in the first round because I don't know if Joe Mixon's ever playing football again. I mean, every time they talk to them, it's like, well, he seems to be getting better, but then he comes back, and they won't even say what he's got. They just, he's been frustrated, oh, this, that, and the other. And I don't think you're keeping Nick Chubb around. I don't think you're keeping Damian Pierce around. At least I hope you're not.
Is his
Uh,
contract finally up?
His contract is finally up. So I think it needs to be Woody Marks and another guy. I mean, and to me, this is one of those weeks where if you could find, two good running backs, you could pound the ball 30, 40 times and just, shorten the game. Sit there and say, Josh Allen, we're going to hold the ball 35 minutes. See what you can do with 25.
I couldn't agree more. Like the Lions made that their moniker last year, right? You had Montgomery and you had Gibbs. They had two, and they still do. It's just their offensive coordinators changed a bit. But that offense is built on the fact that they're going to run the football. They're going to run it well. It gives Jared Goff the ability to hit you on play action, and it's allowed him to play, I think, what is many people would say was the best football of his career last year. Jared Goff was a legitimate MVP candidate. The Lions turned him into a very, very good starting quarterback after many would have considered him a flop as the number one overall pick. So I agree with you, and I'd be interested. We're nowhere near us predicting draft stuff, but if the Texans could get Love from Notre Dame, just a true, real home run hitter, that would be a nice, go get him. Go get the best running back of the draft. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 pick. He's not that kind of running back, but he is the kind of guy that you could pair with a Woody Marks and have a real dynamic backfield.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's what I'm looking at this week. And so I'm looking at Marks this last week got 18 carries. So I'm looking at him getting 20 carries. I'm looking at, Chubb getting at least 10. And then, hoping that, you're keeping Davis Mills to 30, 35 dropbacks, over the rest of the game.
I mean, I'd love to keep it 20 to 25 if you can. I think if he's throwing 25 times, that's a great sign for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, and so I think if you win this game, then I think you can definitely see the path forward to 10 wins, because then you're asking for them to split with the Colts and the Chiefs, which I think is doable. It's going to be tough because those are 2 road games, but then you've got the Raiders, who I think is almost a layup at this point. You've got the Cardinals, which is pretty damn close to a layup at this point, especially if they're going to bench Kyler Murray. So you're up to 8 wins now, or 9 wins if you win 2 out of the next 3. So give me 1 win between the Colts, the Chargers, and I think that's it.
Chargers are struggling lately as well. We'll see. I mean, the sad thing is for the Arizona Cardinals, Jacoby Brissett has played better quarterback in this offense than Kyler Murray has this year. And I feel like we've seen, and I know it's blasphemous to say in the part of town that I live, but I think we've seen the end of Kyler Murray as a viable option for NFL starting quarterback. He's just not. He's not a guy who could live in the pocket. He can't do it.
At least in Arizona. I mean, maybe some other coach unlocks something. I don't know, but
no.
Because I mean, we used to say Sam Darnold was trash, and Sam Darnold has turned into something decent. So who knows? But it's not going to be Arizona. But then the thing is that when you watch this team barely beat the Titans, I could also see them turning right around and being 5-8 in 3 weeks. Yeah. I mean, you don't know you don't know what this future is. A week to week, and I know that's one like a Bill O'Brienism. It's a week to week league. It's an 8-8 league. It's an 8-8 league. What was it? It was asking about the division title.
Doesn't matter, Brian. AFC
Brian,
champion.
yeah, it's an 8-8 league, Brian. Okay, I guess now it's a 8-9 league, 9-8 league. Oh, yeah. Brother,
it's frustrating. But speaking of frustrating, Tari Eason has to be frustrated that he's not on the court right now, Scott. And I think it's pretty obvious when he's not there, that same energy has been missing. The Rockets kind of found themselves playing down, I would say, a little bit to the Orlando Magic before finding a way to pull that one out in overtime. And then tonight, you had a 20-point lead. The bench comes in, and they really just was no spark, no energy. It becomes a 1-point game. Luckily, Aaron Holiday caught fire in the fourth quarter, was able to put it away. But overall, this team is missing its true sixth man, which is Tari Eason.
Yeah, it's the energy that I think you mentioned that is the most infectious. I mean, he's a good shooter when he gets an open three. I mean, and that's what his role in the offense. But I mean, I love the fact, especially if you get him and those big guys on the floor at the same time, who are constantly tipping balls, constantly going after offensive rebounds. That's huge. Reed Shepherd's obviously been huge off the bench. So having Eason and Shepherd coming off the bench is a huge deal. The Rockets do win tonight. They do beat the Cavaliers in Cleveland. That's not an insignificant win, Tim.
No, that's a really good win.
That's the second best team right now in East. Did you see who has the number 1 record in the East?
Pistons.
The Pistons were the ones that gave us our second loss. So if you look at our 3 losses this year, number 1 team in the West, Thunder, number 1 team in the East, Pistons, and the Spurs on the road, that's a pretty damn good basketball team. So I think the most encouraging thing so far this year is that, yes, they played down to Orlando somewhat, but Orlando's still going to be a playoff team in the East. So you pulled the game out. I mean, and when you look at the standings, that's really all that matters, especially when you look in the rearview mirror.
I definitely agree, though. A win is a win. You're not going to show up and have your A-plus game every single night. And if you could still find ways to win those games, that's the difference at the end of the season between a 4 seed, a 2 seed, or a 1 seed, right? But these are all playoff teams. Seeding's not necessarily relevant, but it gets jumbled throughout the year, but from teams who can still find ways to win on nights that they don't have their best stuff. And I do think the Rockets deserve some credit for, a night like tonight, a game that they easily could have let slipped away when that game got cut to 1 point, right? Like you felt the momentum completely shift, but Holiday hits a couple threes, Durant hits a jumper, Bari hits a big three. This team, and again, as I'm sitting there watching it, and Donovan Mitchell got hot, it's just like we still don't even have our stopper back healthy yet, right? Like in a game like this, like Dorian Finney-Smith is probably on the court doing a much better job in the second half defensively against Donovan Mitchell than what was being played on him in the game tonight.
Yeah, and they knew that when they signed him. That wasn't heavily reported when they signed him. I mean, when you signed him in June, everybody was like, woohoo, or is it July 1st, I guess? Woohoo, yeah. It didn't, it was kind of slided in there, maybe in the fourth or fifth paragraph of the story. Hey, he's had ankle surgery. He's not going to be ready for the start of the season. From what I understand, not cleared for contact yet. So what do you think? Maybe still 3-4 weeks out?
Probably around Christmas time, I think is a realistic goal for him. And let's be honest, that's the time anybody starts caring about basketball anyway, is Christmas when people really start paying attention to it. So I do think that's about when we'll start to see him get, because I even think once he's cleared for contract, they're probably going to work him in. You're not just immediately starting the next day. So, but that's kind of what this team is missing right now. As I was watching last night, when a guy like that heats up like Mitchell did, we don't really have a guy we can send at him the way this roster is currently set up to say, okay, go cool this guy down, right? You traded away Dylan Brooks, who was that guy last year. Kevin Durant's a good defender. Amen Thompson's a good defender. But I don't feel like the way this roster is set up without Finney-Smith that we truly have that lockdown guy.
Well, in addition to being the lockdown guy, I think the biggest key is that, you need a guy you can throw at a scorer and not feel horrible if they get into foul trouble. Because to me, I think Durant can lock him down. I think Amen can lock him down. But if all of a sudden, they're sitting there with 4 or 5 fouls in the fourth quarter, you're going, oh, shit. Because you need them on the offensive end. Finney-Smith, you don't necessarily need on the offensive end. He's a guy that can knock down an open three, but he's not – the offense is not running through Finney-Smith. So you need that guy who you can send out after a guy and say, lock this guy down. Steven Adams is that guy in the post where if he gets a few fouls, because he's going up against, like, say, a Greek Freak or going up against Joel Embiid, you don't feel terrible because he's not an integral part of your offense.
Yeah, I mean, you've got bodies there too. You've got Capella you can throw in there. You've got Steven Adams, and then of course you've got Sengun. But Sengun's your last choice in that scenario because you don't want Sengun getting the fouls. That's the missing piece right now, Scott, for sure. I do think once that final piece gets worked into rotation, this team's going to be scary because we've talked about it before. The ball movement's fantastic. Reed Shepherd is starting to look like a legit NBA player, although he had some bad turnovers tonight. Bari Smith is really playing wonderfully in his role. I think he's settling nicely playing next to Durant. Not a star on this team, and that's fine. He is a guy who has accepted his role. He hits open shots. He plays defense. He rebounds. I'm a big Jabari Smith fan. I think he's playing some fantastic basketball this season.
I can't disagree with that. And he's a guy that can fill in 20 points every now and then. And that's what this team had last year. This team had just a group of guys that could all fill in 20 points every now and then. You didn't have that one guy that could do it every night. And now you have two, really. I mean, because I think Sengun has become one of those guys too.
And I saw a video about him or something the other day. It was just he stopped trying to be what other people thought he should be, right? He stopped trying to be mini Jokic and he's just become Alpi. And I like to hedge my bet or hedge with a statement and say, I think he's always been this. I think he's gotten better and better at what he does. I think other people have seen him and they're like, oh, white guy can shoot, can pass. He must be just like this other white guy that can shoot and pass, Jokic. Like they play, it's similar, but we get point Alpi a lot, right? Like we get Alperen Sengun bringing the ball up the court a fair amount. he's not terrible. It's not my favorite when it happens, but he's not the worst guy dribbling the ball in the world. He's a different kind of player. He's special. He's really growing into his game specifically in the NBA. His little hook shot in the lane is getting even better. To me, I think the best way to describe his game right now, Scott, is just if you played old man basketball, but you were athletic while you did it. Like that's literally what it is. Like he's got the angles, he's got the post moves that your dad would break out on you in the driveway, except he's doing it athletically.
So let me give you a stat line for another player, for Amen Thompson, right? 12 points. Yeah, you know. But here we go. 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 steals. I mean, to me, and what's so frustrating is, yeah, you mentioned it in chat before the show. They're giving him the Russell Westbrook treatment, kind of backing off of him, saying, "Hey, beat us with a jumper," and it's just not consistent enough at this point. I think it's getting better. It's just not quite there. But to me, Swiss Army knife of a player. I mean, he fills up a stat sheet. Every single column, he's doing something.
No, he's a Tasmanian devil out there. He really is. He is a one man wrecking ball. His athleticism is off the charts. He just can't fucking shoot. Like that was the knock on him. That was the knock on him in the draft. That was the knock on him in year one. I mean, I think he shot like 17% from 3 last year. He started the year like 0 for 13 from 3 this year and made one corner 3, and the announcers were going crazy for him. And it's not unplayable because he does so many other things well, and he's such a good all-around athlete and basketball player, and he's got great vision. But I mean, this is like Ben Simmons-ish, right? Like this is the kind of player Ben Simmons was. Ben Simmons could give you 15 points, he could give you 10 assists, he could give you 10 rebounds because he was a 6'5" point guard, a point forward, if I may. But at some point, your inability to shoot, I'm not saying he's going to have a Ben Simmons type fall off, but your inability to shoot jumpers will hurt you, right? Your athleticism off the ball is not as strong when I get 5 feet to gear up for your run at me, right? If I'm not up on you, your first step doesn't mean shit. You're not going to blow by me when I've got 5 feet to work with. So that aspect of his game, and I don't doubt that he works at it, but it's just not there right now. And it does, if he could just be a 30% 3-point shooter, Scott, I mean, he would be unbelievably good.
Yeah, I mean, he has that 10 to 15 foot jumper down where he could do that, or he can kind of stop and pop. So he has that game, and that's something. I remember, yeah, I don't know how much of Dennis Rodman you watched growing up, but towards the end, he was hilarious. Like he'd sit there and get an offensive rebound, would have an easy put back, and he'd just kind of look at it and go like, "No, I'm gonna pass it back out." I'm not doing that. I don't know if he thought he was going to angel reese it or what he was going to do with that, but that's what Ben Simmons really has become towards the end. Like he would refuse to do layups, and I don't think Amen's like that. I think the key is that he has shown that 15 feet in, he's great. He just needs and there's some guys, in the old time basketball, when I was watching in the 80s, there were guys that could easily pop an 18-footer, but from 23 feet were worthless.
I mean, even into the early 2000s, right? Like Rip Hamilton for the Pistons was phenomenal in the mid-range, but he was not a good 3-point shooter at all. He made his money on the mid-range game. Same with Prince, their long, lanky defender that they had. It was, I mean, really the Rockets led the charge with analytics on 3-point shooters and layups only with D'Antoni. But it was, I mean, shifting that way beforehand. But the Suns did a lot of it, obviously. The Kerr-led Warriors changed things as well. But it's a different day and age, right? If you can't shoot the 3 in today's world, it's it's tough to run your offense, right? Because these things are designed to get good open 3-point looks. And if you're in the corner on the court in an NBA game and you get an open look, I need you to at least take it. But he doesn't even take them sometimes, right? Like, and that fucks up the flow of the offense.
Yeah. All right, Tim. Do we have to bring up
We got to talk
turd-
about it a little bit.
the turd in the punch bowl?
I'm surprised you're really upset about this at all, the way that you talked about Mauricio Dubón throughout the year.
Well,
noted Dubón hater that you are.
well, I was going to point out you're wearing an Astros cap. I'm wearing orange. We're an Astros first podcast. Would you agree with that?
This shirt, look at this logo. It's retired, and this shirt is still going strong. I got this shirt as a freshman in college.
So here's and I was already on the train to talk some shit when I saw that they DFA'd Urias. To me, it is criminal to take two guys would you agree that Urias is a good utility guy?
I honestly think we had the two best utility guys in the league, both on our roster.
You took two utility guys and you got a shitty hitter who's a utility guy as your only compensation. Welcome to Houston, Nick Allen. We're rooting for you. We hope that you take your 53 OPS plus and turn it into, I don't know, 73 OPS plus. Maybe the new hitting coaches can unlock something. Shit, I don't know. But
and maybe the missing piece, and I will give credit to, is maybe the missing piece is that they think Paredes is going to be a little bit more of that guy, or he can play first, he can play second, he can play third, and you've got a plethora of outfielders. Maybe that's what we're missing.
Yeah, I just, and to me, trading Dubon for that was a gut punch. You've said I hate Dubon. I don't hate Dubon. I like him I'm like a schizophrenic Dubon fan. I absolutely 1000% love fielder Dubon, and I dislike hitter Dubon. But to me, there's no better fielder in the league. He's won 2 Gold Gloves for that utility honor, and you can't convince me that they didn't create that award just because they saw what he was doing in Houston and go like, damn, that guy deserves something.
Yeah, I will always have love for Mauricio Dubon. I could give you another rendition of Goodbye My Lover, Goodbye My Friend, as I did. Who was it that left town that I sang that when they signed in free agent? I think it was Kyle Tucker, maybe. But either way, I love Mauricio Dubon. I think he was a phenomenal Astro. I think when you and I talked about guys that bleed orange earlier in the year on our show, I think he's one of those guys that fit into that category. And correct me if I'm wrong, he's not that fucking expensive, Scott. I really don't get this one specifically.
They said he was due to get up to about $6 million. And I think Nick Allen is arbitration eligible for the first time this year. So, what do those guys
probably lose that case too?
What do those guys typically get? What, about $1 million to $2 million?
But
so you're saving $4 million.
We need arms. If you told me that you made this move and you got back even Tyler Allen and say Tyler Matzik or somebody like an arm you can try and revive, a bullpen arm, I could swallow it a little bit more. But the fact that you just swapped your utility player for a shittier utility player and what is, as you said, purely a cash dump is pretty fucking frustrating, because every time that this happens, right, we saw Springer walk and we all said, hey, we get it. If you have to let one of this core go so you can lock everybody up, it probably should be Springer. Then Correa walks and you're like, oh, fuck. But hey, we've got Kyle Tucker coming. We have to keep Kyle Tucker coming. Well, then Kyle Tucker is not going to get extended. He gets traded. Alex Bregman walks. Like, you keep waiting for the Astros to, hey, if we can't do this, we'll do this instead. And what seems to happen is we'll do this instead has been bargain fucking bin shopping, right? Like they make moves, but it's not it's signing Jason Alexander to a minor league contract in
Well,
February. It's signing
well,
Zach Short to a minor league contract. It's signing Brendan Rodgers, right? Like I get that we didn't have the money we had last year, but 30 million is not nothing. You could make some moves this offseason at 30. And if Jim Crane would just pony the fuck up, and we can talk more about it later, but if he would just be willing to pony the fuck up and get us over the tax, there's plenty to be done.
yeah, you were I almost think it's not like they're bargain shopping because Christian Walker is not a bargain. It's almost like the equivalent. They're going to Kohl's. You ever shopped at Kohl's, Tim?
Almost my whole entire high school wardrobe was exclusively from Kohl's.
So you'd agree that it's kind of a step up from say Target.
I'd say so. You can get the Quicksilver stuff there. That was a good stuff. That was a good selection.
So you could get some good things at Kohl's, but are you a trendsetter at Kohl's?
2 years ago, you would have been with that jacket.
But it was Kohl's selling it 2 years ago. That's kind of the question. I mean, they might be selling it now. So to me, and Walker's not a bad player, but you're filling up. You're going out there and you're getting. And the thing is that you're getting these guys who nobody's offering them 5 or more years. So you're getting, I would say, solid players who are willing to sign for 2 or 3 seasons. Okay, you're going to definitely agree with me on this. JV's not a bargain pitcher, right?
Not at this point. I mean, in his career, no, but at this point in his career, he's got to sign for $12 to $15 million.
He's like going to Kohl's. Hey, look what they have on the shelf here. They have a JV. Man, this is, I didn't know they had cooking-ware here. Oh, this is good shit. I mean, it's it is what it is, right? And I don't have any problem with going that route. But to me, if you go that route, if you're willing to spend, let's say $250 million to outfit a team, you should be willing to go out and spend it on just about anybody. I mean, you should be able to go out. You mentioned, I don't know that they're going to want to spend on Ranger Suarez when he was given a qualifying offer. Okay, maybe they don't want to go out and get Cease after he was given a qualifying offer. But there's going to be some other arms in addition to JV who are perfectly reasonable arms that would fit in a 5-man rotation. And you could get that if you're willing to go a little bit above the tax. Just a little.
But also, too, like you have assets. You're trying to tell me that nobody in the league wanted Ramon Urias?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what's frustrating there is maybe it's a situation like, you're trying to do right by the player and release him early in free agency and give him a chance to, find a good home where he'll get playing time. And I can respect that. But he is an asset. You need arms. If you're trying to save money, trade him. Get a middle relief arm for him. Get a reclamation project. The Braves have several young pitchers that haven't quite panned out. You're telling me you couldn't have gotten one of those guys back instead of a shitty infielder. It's just, that's what's frustrating. I expect some serious blue balls this free agency, Scott. Like I feel like we have a good foundation of a team. This is a team that was pretty good last year, but it has some glaring holes and glaring weaknesses. And I don't feel like those holes and weaknesses are going to be fixed necessarily. And I think the way that they go about trying to fix it is going to leave you and I both sitting here with a big old case of fucking blue balls.
Well, because the one I would have made is every team is in this same non-tender crunch that we are. Why couldn't you have gone up to your neck of the woods, to your Texas Rangers, and offered them Urias for Jonah Heim? You need a backup catcher. I think, Caratini might be getting around $10 million a year. Maybe that's a little rich for your blood for a backup catcher. Jonah Heim's probably in the neighborhood of $5 million. Why couldn't you have made that trade?
That one was so puzzling to me. And when I saw all the Dubon rumors, I it's like there's no way that happens now when you've traded Urias, right? Like to me, it was like maybe you could have gotten something for Dubon and you keep Urias and okay. The Astros have had some serious good fortune with utility men, right? You went straight from Marwin Gonzalez to Aldemus, to Doobie, and to now I guess Allen, but none of these guys really did anything when they left. That's what's interesting, right? Like Aldemus Diaz was god awful with the A's. Marwin Gonzalez was not great with Minnesota, not great with the Yankees. Had some good moments with the Red Sox. Had some okay moments when he came back. And Dubon was really not playable with the Giants before he got to Houston, and yet came here and fortunately for us, Yordan Alvarez got him straightened out. So, Doobie, you will be missed. I enjoyed watching you play. I enjoyed watching you become a father. I enjoyed watching you just bleed orange for this ball club.
All right, Tim, are we ready for that time of the day of the show?
Yeah, we can get some awards out, Scott. I'm in a giving mood.
I think we always are. It's that time of year.
It is that time of year. We are just soaking up that Christmas joy. Scott, who do you want to punch right in the kisser this week?
This is where I actually told I have the text time to prove it, the time stamp to prove it. I picked out the Astros, be it Dana Brown, Jim Crane, whoever you want to punch. I had this picked out before they traded Dubon. So, I mean, if anything, I should be elevating them up in the ladder of infamy here. I just don't get it. I mean, you're going to have a work. You're pretty sure you're going to have a work stoppage after this year. It's time. You are making money hands over fist. You cannot tell me that you're not making a profit. Would you agree with that, Tim?
I would definitely agree with that.
You're making a profit. You're not like Cohen in New York, who's operating at a loss and is writing it off because he's filthy fucking rich. You're making money. It's time to say fuck it. You've got how many years do you think does this roster have, Tim, before we start to see some serious turnover and like a new Astros day?
2. However long Altuve's got left. I mean, I think they'll ride it out as long as Altuve's there.
He'll be under contract, but I foresee, because I think he's under contract for another 4 years. But you have to know that last year or those last 2 years are not going to be good years for Altuve. They're just not. And I think they knew that when they gave him the contract. And when they gave him the contract, they underpaid him what he could have gotten on the open market in terms of AAV, because it was like here's your gold watch, thank you for everything you've done. So if you think that this team has a 2-year window, because Yordan has got 3 years left?
I think so.
Pena's got 2 more years till he becomes a free agent. I think Brown has got 2 or 3 more years before he becomes a free agent. You're looking at a 2-year window. Why not go balls to the wall in 2026 and say, let's win another fucking one? Let's do a big, huge middle finger to the Dodgers out in LA and say, fuck you. We're buying a title. Or at least buy your way into the World Series. I mean, because, once you get into the World Series, but Toronto Blue Jays showed it's anybody's game. Toronto Blue Jays, I think when you stack roster up against roster, I don't think they had any real business going to a Game 7, but it's a short, it's a 7-game series. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. And to me, you got a JV who's, an aging ace potentially. You got a Hunter Brown who loves JV. So I can only think he'll get better when JV's back in the dugout. You get like another veteran pitcher. You've got a Christian Javier who, basically shut down the Yankees and the Phillies in the playoffs in 2022. Anything can happen. So go out and spend the money. And it's not like I'm asking you to spend $300 million. What's the tax right now? What, 220?
I think so.
I'm asking you to spend no more than 250. Do you think you could outfit a World Series potential roster with $250 million with the way the Astros are right now?
That's what, $50 million to spend this offseason?
That'd be, well, yeah, because I'm not counting the cost-cutting moves you just made.
So call it 55, maybe
Yeah.
60 million to spend in that world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I could put together a really good roster if you let me go over by that little bit. And I think Jim Crane already gets a lot of leeway because, at least for a long period, he was what seemed like the only competent owner in town. Cal was doing Cal things with Jack Easterby.
Might still be.
And
at least not with Jack Easterby, though.
And the Rockets were such a disaster that, yeah, like all we had was the Astros. But I agree with you. Jim Crane really has a chance to cement his legacy as an owner here. You're not going to be a championship contender every year. And the odds are after this run ends, there's going to be some dark times again, right? Like it took some dark times to get here. And we'll probably have to fucking strip it down a little bit, suck for a few years, rebuild it back up, and make another run at it. So why not, as I agree with you, while you've got everybody on a contract that you've got, make one more big fucking push. Go get the best players you can get. Go get JV back. Go get some good middle of the bullpen relief that you're not automatically just going to Brian Abreu in the ninth inning if Hader can't go, or you're not going to Okert in the eighth inning, or you're not going to Souza in the eighth inning, Brian King in the eighth inning, right? Like, give me some fucking bullpen help to maybe see if we can make a run at this thing, because the bullpen really was a problem this year. You've got new offensive philosophy. I'm intrigued to see what the bats that we have do with that new coaching staff. I think the talent is there on offense. When you look around the infield, between Paredes and Correa and Pena and Walker and Altuve, that's a strong group of offensive bats right there on paper. Didn't all work out to plan last year, but I do think that there's a lot of positive there. So Crane has a real big opportunity, I think, to cement his place in Houston sports history. And it's frustrating when they make moves like this without following it up with Astros have traded for Brendan Donovan or something like that, right? What's that next big domino to fall?
Yeah, I mean, I guess those rumors make a little bit more sense, but yeah, I'm with you. So who do you got as your pal?
I'd like to walk down to Bristol, Connecticut. I'd like to fly to Bristol, walk into the ESPN studios, and just fucking start punching, Scott. All the executives. The anchors are fine. The reporters are fine. But all the major fucking executives. First, they do the fucking shit where they pull ESPN off of YouTube TV, right? Now, ESPN has bought MLB TV. I don't know if you paid attention. They already bought Red Zone. They bought NFL. I don't know about you, but I don't think we need one company owning all of sports. That same company takes shit tons of fucking gambling money while we're having a gambling problem in sports. Like ESPN in my childhood was amazing, right? You had a couple games every night. A couple games every week for baseball. You had, some Monday Night Football. Sports Center was the place to be every single morning. You had unbelievable hosts. Then, it started to change. And now what ESPN is, it is nothing like it was that made it the number one name in sports. And now it's just, it's disgusting. It's a pay-per-click organization that pushes outrage. They buy up everything they can. They can get their hands on it just to get you to watch it on their network. They don't do the best work with airing their games. Their hosts on their play-by-play people suck. It's just so goddamn frustrating. And to see him buy the baseball one was the one that really ticked me off because, the whole reason I switched to T-Mobile was because you get the MLB package for free when you're a T-Mobile person. And I bet your ass that ESPN is not going to start fucking doing that anymore. That'll be gone. My ability to buy Red Zone for $100 after this year is going to be gone. Like they are just sucking the money out of sports, and it's so frustrating in general as a parent to see how monetized sports have become from a youth perspective. But now, just even as a consumer, Scott, like it's so monetized, and then even at the same time, you still can't fucking stream the Astros in Texas. You still can't fucking do it unless you buy Fubo. Even though we're monetizing everything, it's still fucking blackouts. So they monetize it in the dumbest fucking way possible.
And you know what ESPN has become? See, I remember the debates when I was in college. It was, are you a Keith Olbermann guy or are you a Craig Kilborn guy? Those were, the best anchors, and I still, I don't know how you feel about Olbermann once he went to politics. But as a sport, he had me laughing. Like he was, I remember there was one time where, do you remember Antoine Carr, a player?
I do not, no.
But he was like a center. And so the two R's fell off his jersey. And so he's like, Antoine Carr. And it was just, I was rolling around. It was just hilarious shit. Now it's just debate show after debate show after debate show. You get Stephen A. Smith who's, however, it's just, it's sickening. And he's sitting there. He's now on XM, Tim, which I'm gonna have to get to here in a minute. Later on in the show, but talking about how he's gonna come on and thank Skip Bayless in a YouTube message, and you're like, why are you thanking Skip Bayless? Isn't he a giant turd? But you know what Skip Bayless was known for in the 90s, Tim? He came out with a theory that Troy Aikman was gay.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, God. ESPN, you're just gone. It was appointment TV, especially, before, on Sundays, before the games would start, watching Berman and Tom Jackson and all that crew. Not anymore.
And, I never really enjoyed the sports reporters, but it was there, right? Like it was a legitimate, and I might enjoy it more nowadays, right? If a show like that existed, as I've been through college and I've done my journalism degree and things, but that was a legitimate show where just good discussion happened. Articles were discussed. Investigative journalism was discussed. Outside the Lines did some great work, right? And you mentioned the guys that I was watching, Rich Eisen, Stuart Scott, Scott Van Pelt, right? Like that was who I woke up to every morning. Linda Cohen, she was so fucking good. She was such a pro, and that's who you watch. You had Baseball Tonight with Harold Reynolds when he was still there before he got chased off, and you had Steve Phillips from the Mets when he was still, and you had Crucky was still there, right? You just had legitimate conversation, and you're right. Everything's an argument. Everything's just trying to find an ability to take 30 seconds of it so you can then post that 30 seconds on Instagram, right? Like we're doing this whole 30-minute show just to get the 30-second gotcha shot to post on my social media. It's frustrating, and I just feel like when your job is to be the sports network and you're making sports worse, I want to punch you in the face and say stop it.
Absolutely.
All right, Scott. Horse's ass. Who is on that pedestal for you this week?
Have a guy that elevated from last week here, Tim. And remember, the original intent was the guy that I want to see, or girl, that I want to see run out of town. I'm out on Sonny Dykes, Tim. I'm out on him. You messaged me on Saturday basically saying, what the fuck, because you wanted, us to beat BYU. And I was like, sorry, man. But how can you not at least show up and make it a football game? I mean, yeah, they're a top 25 team. It's on the road. I get it. It's a tough ask to ask you to go into a top, 20 team on the road and win. Can keep it within 30 damn points. I mean, my God, what are we,
Make it a competitive game for the donors.
I mean, shit. And so, and just, behind the scenes, you said, hey, you can pull some strings for us and get some tickets. I'd be happy to have some tickets this weekend. But when you first put that text out, and I was like, do I really want to go watch this shit? Do I really want to go watch us get skull dragged by U of H? Is that really, my idea? But hey, it would be a entertaining football game, just not for us. But for everybody in attendance wearing red, it'll be a nice football game. And I'm of the opinion, and I've said this times before, when you get to a point when you're out on somebody, you need to just cut the cord. Because if we're going to do this shit where, hey, maybe if he gets a new offensive coordinator next year, maybe he could win 8 games and be no, just let's just fucking pull the cord down.
The Big 12 is going to become harder and harder to win too, right? As you've got the money that's being invested at Texas Tech University right now between the billionaire that's spending all of it, and then you've also got what Patrick Mahomes is doing. I think he's throwing $10 million a year towards his own NIL fund. He spreads it out at least, like he's paying for that. The softball pitcher that took him to the College World Series, he's paying for her. But no, like Texas Tech spending some money. So, I mean, obviously, I don't know what your donor situation is, but you're fucking SMU West, right? Like you've got quite a lot of wealth on that campus. I saw the student parking lot when I was walking to a game last year. You're gonna have to pony up, and you're gonna have to, probably pay a hefty price to get him off campus, and you're probably gonna have to pay some serious cash to go get yourself some athletes to join you. You go get a quarterback and let's go, right? Like that seems to be today's process. Go buy a new quarterback.
They got a quarterback. He was leading the NCAA in touchdowns, for much of the season. Problem is they don't have an offensive line. We don't have an offensive line. You can't run the football. If you can't run the football, you're going to be playing a lot of 40 to 38 games, kind of keeping your fingers crossed and hoping for the best. And, this team, they don't have the beef on either the offensive or defensive lines. So, I mean,
don't spend that NIL money, Scott. You need that donor fee.
But to me, you also need a coach who's not. I hate, and I know that D'Amico Ryans is doing it now, but I've never really liked a CEO coach. I've never liked that. I'm just going to hire an offensive defensive guy. I'm just going to step back and kind of fold my arms over my stomach and my gut, and I'm just going to, Did you ever watch Rudy?
Come on. Of course I've watched Rudy.
So you remember like when Dan Devine would stand up in the that thing like way above the field?
Yeah.
Run it again. I need a coach who's going to be on the damn field and is going to be getting guys' faces. I don't need a guy who's going to stand up 30 feet above the action and go like, okay, boys, run it again. I don't need that guy. I need somebody who's going to actually motivate some guys. And somebody who's going to actually may not call plays on Saturday, but is going to be involved in the game plan. So whenever he's asked about the game on Saturday night or Sunday morning, well, I thought we had a good practice, but, I guess we weren't prepared. Come on, dude.
First of all, let's start for a second. The name of the coach that you're disparaging for his high altitude coaching technique is Eric Parsegian. Okay. 2 national championships, rebuilt Notre Dame after taking over a struggling program. All right. So
He was on the damn field in the movie.
Eric Parsegian can coach from wherever the fuck he wants to coach. Okay. Want to go inside, we go inside. Want to go outside, we go outside. Inside, outside, inside, outside.
Well, don't you remember like when the guy started yelling at Rudy for like tackling him like it was the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And Parsegian is right there on the
Vaughn. That's Vince Vaughn who he fucking tackles, by the way.
And he sits there and Parsegian is on the field grabbing him by the helmet and sitting there going like, you just getting kicked off the third team. You're on the scout team now. And it starts kicking the dirt. He's not 30 feet in the fucking air with a bullhorn going, what the hell's going on down there? That was being designed, Tim.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You got me there.
Because that actor plays a punch in every role because he was Eddie Harris.
True. All right, you got me there. My horse's ass this week, Scott, is Nike. I didn't get a chance to tell the story on air yet, but it happened a couple weeks ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago. But I have mentioned Sawyer's playing basketball, right? I'm coaching. That's a whole other story. But I decide, like, I'm going to take my kid to go buy some basketball shoes, like a pair that she only wears in the gym. We don't wear these outside, basketball only shoes. I go to, and it's really not just Nike, it's really every shoe manufacturer, minus whoever makes Angel Reese's shoes. But Nike specifically, after struggling, and I go to the outlets, but struggling in every store to find anything, I go to Nike. And I go to Nike specifically because on the outside of the store, there's a giant fucking picture of Caitlin Clark, right? So in my mind, okay, this is the place to get women's basketball shoes. You have Caitlin Clark on the wall. Perfect. I go in, I say, hi, where are the women's basketball shoes? And they say, we don't make women's basketball shoes. I said, what? You've got Caitlin Clark on the wall. They said, we make basketball shoes, and you just buy the ones that are small enough in the men's size that actually fit the girl. Awesome. Really, really awesome. I don't know about you, Scott, but like different fashion style. Like I ended up getting a nice pair of Giannis's for her, and they're fun and they're colorful and she's happy. But it's really disheartening to me that there's one fucking player out there who has her own shoe. It's Angel Reese, and it's good. I'm glad she does, and I'm glad like Tari Eason wears them. But what is wrong with the world that we live in, where you're throwing her fucking picture on your wall? She's inspiring more girls to play basketball than anybody since like fucking Lisa Leslie, and we don't have a women's shoe. We don't have anything specifically designed to the women basketball player. For what? For fucking what? You don't get to sign her and use her for your marketing if you're not actually going to make any fucking products for women. It's so maddening and it's so frustrating. And I know you're a guy who's coached women's sports and you have a daughter as well. When you truly get involved in these processes and you see, call it like it is, the lack of give a fuck from a lot of people that are involved in like women's athletics, right? I've been to an LPGA tour event. Parking lot is gravel. There's a banana for the players to eat at the tee box. You've got a guy in a fishing shirt with a bullhorn going now at the tee, whatever. It looked like I've been to HGA events that were better put together than the LPGA event I went to. My daughter's little league has umpires that don't even know the fucking rules, that don't know the difference between a force and a tag. And we're just supposed to be happy that people are there doing the job, right? But like men's umpiring is fucking criticized and all this other stuff, and it's up to par. And it's just so frustrating that I can't go out and get my daughter a pair of shoes from an athlete that she actually knows. Because I thought it was cool that she got Giannis's shoes, but she has no fucking clue who Giannis Antetokounmpo is. But I guarantee she knows who Caitlin Clark is.
Yeah, I don't get that either. To me, especially her, because you mentioned Lisa Leslie, but to me, Caitlin Clark is probably the biggest women's, athlete. I'd have to go back to like Cheryl Miller, maybe, or somebody along those lines.
Babe Zaharis. That's going pretty far back, but
maybe Cheryl Swoops, maybe.
Swoops was good.
She played. Remember Jordan 1-on-1? Remember they had that kind of thing going, and of course Cheryl. But they don't help themselves out when Cheryl Swoops is the main one coming out here and bad mouthing Caitlin Clark. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? It would be like in baseball, shit talking Ohtani. Like who is shit talking Ohtani? Nobody, because he's won 4 MVPs in the last 5 years. And the only reason he didn't win 5 out of 5 is because Aaron Judge has 62 bombs. It's,
I think he got hurt that year too. He just so happened to get hurt that year.
When you have a player who dominates the sport, yes, it's fair to sit there and say Caitlin Clark is not the best player in the WNBA. Absolutely. I would agree with that. I think Caitlin Clark would probably agree with that. But she is certainly bringing more popularity to the game. And
she's
to
the
me,
most recognizable person in the WNBA.
And you'd have to be stupid, which they are, to sit there and, haze her and, try and push her down figuratively and literally. And, sit there and say, we're not going to do a damn thing to capitalize off her popularity.
And again, I don't even care if Nike just said, this is the women's basketball shoe 2.0 worn by Caitlin Clark. It didn't have to be a Caitlin Clark shoe, right?
Right.
Just support women's athletics besides signing the most visible athlete to a sponsorship deal and then not doing anything about it, right? That's really what is most frustrating to me is you just do nothing. When I think you could look at this from a golf perspective, right? When Tiger Woods hit the scene, what does Nike do? Nike shoved Tiger Woods down your throat. Nike made golf shit, and they shoved their golf shit down your throat. You get Caitlin Clark, you shove Caitlin Clark at us, but then you don't make any fucking shoes for women. Nothing. It's just disrespectful to all these women athletes that aren't being given the same opportunities that I was, right? Like, I liked a player growing up. I looked what shoes were on his feet. I could go buy them and, like, rep my favorite player, right? If you're a female basketball fan and you watch the WNBA, you look down and you see a bunch of Currys and you see LeBrons and you see Durant, so they're all wearing everybody else's shoe, right? You can't rep your favorite player by wearing their shoes because they don't exist. Like, it was such a big deal for me when I got my first pair of basketball shoes that was like a player's personal shoe, and I'll never forget them. They were the T-Mac ones. Fucking love those shoes so much. But it was always a big deal for me to buy Rockets players' shoes because I wanted to rep my guys. I got T-Macs. I had Dwight Howard's basketball shoes when I wore those too, right? Like that was a big deal to me. And for a whole group of basketball fans that are WNBA fans, it's not even an option.
Yeah. All right. Want a stroke of positivity?
Just a little skosh of it. As one of my bar customers used to ask for, a little skosh.
I am going to go with one Matthew Bryant. Who is Matthew Bryant? You might ask that question. He's the guy that's been subbing for Fairbairn for the last 2 weeks. He has now kicked for 3 NFL teams this year, Tim. And
looking for a fourth, unfortunately for him. After today.
Yeah, and he's holding up a sign. We'll kick for food. He's that guy. In what other world do you think you could have a guy? It's the game-winning kick and is unemployed less than 2 days later. And granted, none of those kicks were 60-yarders or anything like that. It was like a 30-something yarder, but you stood over a 4-footer with something on the line, Tim. I mean, how are you feeling in that moment?
Hands get a little shaky, Scott.
And so you got to think he's thinking, oh man, if I miss this kick, and he's not even thinking they're going to cut me. He's thinking like nobody else is going to sign me. But he'll probably kick for somebody else this year.
Yeah.
I mean, and he deserves it, because you need guys who can hit the routine field goals and extra points. He did doink one on Sunday, but it didn't count because, the Titans are going to tighten and committed a personal foul on that play, gave us a first down so that we could go to 4th and goal and screw the pooch. So officially on the day, 3 for 3 on field goals, 1 for 1 on extra points. Made all of his kicks last week, and you needed all those kicks last week against the Jaguars. So, good on him, man. But one of those guys that if you make it to the playoffs, you're going to look back and think, thank God that, we picked that guy up.
Absolutely. I think he's in a really unfortunate situation where this isn't like Davis Mills, right? Where he knows that once CJ Stroud is healthy, he'll just go back to being the backup, but he still gets a paycheck. Wright was very well aware of once Fairburn's back, I'm out of a job. So that's a completely different situation to be in. It's almost, we've talked movies a lot on the show. It reminds me of like Shane Falco from The Replacements, right? Where he's just like, I'm not gonna have a job after this. I'm fucking leaving it all out of the field. I'm gonna pull the ball from my kicker who's being paid to miss the kick, and I'm gonna run it. Such a wonderful film The Replacements is, but no, that's kind of what it reminds me of. Like you're a replacement player, and the main players are coming back next week, and have fun out there, Mr. Wright. And he did great. I saw that this week the Niners are auditioning kickers. Maybe he'll get a look over there after what he did with us. But hey, at the end of the day, the guy made the kicks that matters. Is he the longest leg in the NFL? No. But you have a really long leg, and he got hurt. You got a guy who made kicks consistently, and that's all that you could ask for.
All right, Tim, who you got?
I'm going to tip the cap to Aaron Holiday tonight, Scott, because his 13 fourth quarter points were really the difference tonight. We've mentioned earlier in the show, we're missing Tari on offense. We're missing that spark that when you go to the bench, you had that scoring duo of Reed and Tari coming in and making plays. And tonight it was Aaron Holiday. Shot the 3 ball extremely well, got into the paint, couple big steals when the game got close. This is a guy that we both maybe were a little bit curious on why he got re-signed. Simply because we didn't play him very much. It seemed like we've re-signed this guy and then we never play Aaron Holiday. So I'm just very thankful for his play tonight and tip my cap for him being ready when his number got called. And I'm just looking at Ime saying, hey, let's call this guy's number a little bit more often, right? Like maybe some of Reed Shepard's minutes could shift to Aaron Holiday minutes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Falco example. To me, Aaron Holiday feels the way I feel when I'm playing in a Florida scramble and I sink a 30-foot birdie putt. He's got to have that satisfying feeling like I contributed something. I did something. I
took my drive.
Which, they took actually, when I was playing, they took my my approach shots on the par threes, 3 times. So, I gotta say that. But no, in all seriousness, it does seem like to you that NBA rosters are deeper than. I mean, I think they've expanded to 15. It used to be 12 with 3 on a taxi squad, and now I think they go like a full 15 guys. So you're gonna have nights, and he's got to feel good when he is on the end of that bench saying like, "Hey, that Cleveland game, that was me. That was me." And so, he might be sitting there not playing and, might be getting one of those DMP coaches' decisions here in the coming weeks, but he can just go like, Cleveland, that was me.
No, absolutely. He kept the winning streak alive. He kept kept the Rockets in the lead tonight when it was looking like it was not going to be that way. So, my man, Aaron Holiday, you get the hat tip. Scott, I think you and I are teaming up on our scumbag this week as it's a fun conversation.
Well, you have daughters. I have a daughter. Megyn Kelly has a daughter. Megyn Kelly's daughter is 14 years old. So when she came out, and I wrote, I don't know if you read my Substack piece on this.
I did.
The actually people, because the other people that do this, Tim, are the gun nuts. Where you sit there and you talk about, semi-automatic. Well, actually, it's a blah, 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 and not a blah, 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 blah. You're like, what the fuck does that matter? And in this case, Megyn Kelly, actually does on pedophilia. Sure. Okay, Megyn, let me give you a golf clap for looking up in the dictionary what the definition of pedophilia is. And the definition is attraction to prepubescent children. So did Epstein attack prepubescent children? Okay, you got us there, Megyn. Good job. Way to go. And I don't get this, and extending this out to the press, they are not underage women. There is no such thing as an underage woman. They are girls. They're children. And I know Sawyer's, getting close to that age that, Epstein seemed to like, and, has fortunately come of age and is now 18 going on 19. But my God, Megyn Kelly, you've got a 14-year-old daughter at home. So are you telling me that, if Epstein went after her, it's not as bad as if she were 8? Are you fucking kidding me? And Sirius XM, I came pretty close to canceling my subscription. Because, I'm sorry, you're going to have to suspend her. You're going to have to fire her. That's just ridiculous. To me, anybody who's trying to defend, and what she's doing is she's carrying water for dear old Daddy Trump. Because everybody knows out of 1,000 pages of Epstein files, he's going to be on 776 of them. We know this. So they're trying to make it like, Epstein wasn't actually that bad. Be like, Matt Gaetz, he only trafficked a 17-year-old. It wasn't like he trafficked a 9-year-old. Why are we actuallying this shit? It's evil. I was going to ask you, are you familiar with a Dean Winter?
I'm not, no. Is it Dean Winters?
Winters, yeah.
Actually, yes, I am.
So, he's the guy that went up against Charlie Kirk famously in one of those circle, debate, the circle jerk, as I kind of call him. And
he's
actually,
pretty good.
Yeah, and he actually took him to school. So a guy on Dean Winters' show came on and said, with I can't see his face because it's audio, but with a straight face saying, "Can you tell me why child rape is wrong?" And Winters, he is able to shoot back pretty quickly on any bullshit that he hears. He was speechless, Tim. He just started beating his head against the desk. Because it's like, where are you at in life where you're sitting there? It's so important to me that we find this guy okay, that we're going to rearrange our entire moral code in order to fit this guy in. Where is we at? How did we dip this low?
It's beyond frustrating because also this is the same party that got elected on the fact that there's apparently a pedophile ring inside the government, and they've screamed pedophilia for years, and now they're just trying to redefine what it is as it's affecting them personally, right? These are the same group of people that indoctrinated someone so much that they showed up at a fucking pizza restaurant ready to free the kids that were being locked up there, right? Like a ping pong and pizza restaurant gets, into this conspiracy theory, and a crazy fucking nut shows up with a gun to let the kids out. Alex Jones has a guy who goes in there with a camera and makes a big deal out of it, right? But these are the same people. These are all the same people. And it just continues to show us that they have no bottom. There is no bottom to these motherfuckers. They will just move the bar lower and lower and lower. There is no hitting rock bottom. Like, because you would honestly think the president of the United States have incredible evidence against him for being a sex trafficker, child molester, pedophile, all of that. You would think that's the end of the lore of this man. When you've run on protecting the children, keeping our children safe, keeping our children away from indoctrination. That's been the main conversation point for 10 plus years of the Republican Party now. Those same people are now on air saying 15. I mean, hey, they look at them. Look, have you seen 15-year-olds? They look good. They look good, guys. I mean, what the flying fuck? These are the same people who say that women were asking for it based on how they are dressed. These are the same people who, refuse to accept women's rights. These are the same people that told athletes to shut up and dribble, right? Like, they just always move the bar lower and lower and lower. And as you mentioned, we're both parents to daughters. I'll fucking hurt somebody who looks at my 12-year-old, let alone, hey, do you mind if I ask your daughter out on a date this weekend? I know I'm 35, but she looks like she could be 15. Like, okay, and like, what the fuck, man? It's children's brains are still forming. Scott, you and I both know this. You're a teacher. I've coached both the first tee, and now I'm coaching basketball. I've been around kids. I have 2 children. They don't make good decisions. They're easily influenced. They have this deference to power. It's not there's no consent. There's no way that you can when you don't understand what's happening. And the fact that this group of American citizens are literally justifying it. And the worst part is, Scott, nothing's going to happen to her. Nothing's going to happen to Megyn Kelly.
What kills me, though, Tim, is we mentioned this off the air, and I'm going to be very clear about this. So apparently there is an email circulating from Jeffrey Epstein's brother, who openly asked if Vladimir Putin has video of Donald Trump, quote unquote, going down on Bubba. So he came out recently and said Bubba was not Bill Clinton. Okay, thank you for for closing that gap for me. Now, I'm going to state this very clearly. Do I believe that Donald Trump gave any guy a blowjob? Not necessarily. But wouldn't it be hilarious if that's the thing that MAGA finally says, nope, I'm out. Lock children in cages? Check. Racism? Check.
I think what's actually going to happen is the bar is going to go lower again. And like, well, who hasn't given a good friend a blowjob from time to time? Okay, we've all been there alone, having a couple of beers, and your buddy looks over you, and you look over him and say, "Hey, man, you want a blowjob?" Like, we've all done it.
Brokeback Mountain.
Then you're gonna have exactly. You're gonna have like the whole Fox morning crew is gonna be like, Look, guys, we've all done it. We all experimented in college. We're not gay.
I mean, but some people are going to be out, and it means the mental gymnastics to sit there. And what I find so hilarious about that is, number one, there's a bunch of other stuff we know he did. We don't know this. It's conjecture. Believe it if you want to. Don't believe it if you don't want. And I personally am not going to go there. But to me, out of all the things that he's ever done, that's the least objectionable thing that he's ever done. I mean, I don't care who he gives a blowjob to. I don't care. He's not doing it for me. So that's all that matters to me. But for some people, that's going to be a bridge too far. And I love the mental gymnastics to get there. Saying like, hey, kill over 1 million people in COVID? Not a big deal. It was a hoax anyway. Grabbing women by the genitalia, sexual assault on over 30 women, actually being in the Epstein files and going down on children. Yeah, but going down on another guy.
It's not even the blowjob. What if it's that it was a Democrat that he blew? They're just like, there's so many good Republican dick out there that he could have sucked, but he sucked a fucking commie Democrat cock.
I mean, it's just, but with Megyn Kelly, to me, somebody who has a 14-year-old daughter should know better. And I had, and I'm not going to go too much deep into this, but when Ann was 12, we had somebody that we knew, I'm not going to say who was caught in a child porn sex ring. He was caught downloading child porn. And I remember his daughter saying like, well, it was teenagers. It was young teenagers. It wasn't people under 10. And I remember feeling that same skeezy feeling that I felt when I heard that from Megyn Kelly. Because, at 12, we just basically decided our daughter's not going to go around this guy. And we haven't seen him in 6 years. And and partially a lot of that, I haven't seen any of that family in 6 years. And part of it is that, whenever you're willing to make excuses for somebody like that, what else are you willing to excuse?
And that's it right there, right? And when you're willing to excuse certain things, you'll continually excuse whatever's next, right? The line will continually be moved, and it has been. I don't want to joke about it, but like we truly need like James Cameron to raise the bar back up, right? Like we need James Cameron to get in his little fucking submarine from South Park and go into the deepest part of the sea and raise the bar back up for what we consider entertaining in society, because it's so frustrating to look around and just see so many people you thought were like good, smart, good-natured people justifying statutory rape. It's at minimum, it's rape. It's more, but like at minimum, it's statutory rape, Scott.
Yeah, unbelievable.
All right, that's a fun note to end it on. But hey, Thursday night game this week. We've been pumping it. This time it's actually going to happen. Davis Mills v. Josh Allen, the matchup that we've all been waiting for. I am so happy that Jeff Bezos paid out the ass to get this matchup.
By a neck, Tim. By a neck.
We'll see everybody next week on Born on the Bayou Sports as we get ready for Turkey Day. But we appreciate everybody who stopped by this week. Same time, same channel next week on Born on the Bayou Sports.